Welcome to Yellow Brick Road. I'm Jordan, and tonight I have another political analysis from Styxhexenhammer666, the devil man himself. But first, please consider donating to Devon's Journey to Recovery. The link is in the description box, and the website is in the intro to this video. Please donate. Okay, so we did a video recently on this guy, Mr. Styxhexenhammer666. About his awful analysis of the 2020 elections and calling Tulsi Gabbard a shill, a deep state shill who's pretending to be anti-interventionist in order to take down Trump, who is an actual interventionist. Is very interesting. So, I guess. Hopefully you guys are all curious about what he said very recently. When is this from? May 7th. So yesterday, this guy made this video, and I want you to pay attention to how in-depth and how accurate his assessments are. Here we go.
All right, everyone, we got to go back to a little bit more poll analysis now. You know, the race continues to sort of form with regards to the 2020 election. It's not just the Democratic primary polls, but also the general polls. Now, keep in mind, for some of the Democrats who have less name recognition, if you're matching up their numbers to Trump in a general election poll, sometimes they seem further ahead, like with O'Rourke, certainly. That's the case, like 10 points ahead in some of the polls. You've got to understand that that's the Kasich effect. We saw this in 2016. This was a big thing, and I suppose, you know, Beto, so-called, will probably crow about this. Oh, I'm the one that beats the Trump by the largest margin. I'm your best, safest bet. He'll make that statement.
He already tapped out. His donors will tell him he's the safest bet.
Kasich did too. If he's smart, he'll do that right now, long before the primaries begin. Kasich sort of started making that case after Super Tuesday because he was a crazy candidate. I'm almost surprised that he didn't just switch to the Democrats and jump in there or something like that. Ideologically, he's much more like a Democrat. Then again, so is Marco Rubio. He could have run again. He just would have had to have a D after his name or something.
Yes, Marco Rubio is more like a Democrat. Now, I don't think this guy understands the distinction between, I would say, a classical or an actual Democrat versus the corporate class that have been mulling around for however long, basically forever in this country, right? So, he does not make a distinction between a Bernie Sanders and a Joe Biden, or a Bernie Sanders and a Klobuchar, or a Rubio, or whoever. He just thinks Bernie Sanders is some faraway leftist with no connections to real people. He just wants food lines and shit like that, which is bullshit. As in, Bernie's pulls in large crowds when he speaks to unions, and Biden pulls in half crowds, and half of that is just journalists. I don't know. Here you go. It's just to let you know that his scaling is kind of off. Maybe it's on purpose to get Trump elected again. Who knows?
But when we look at the general election polls, this is actually good for Trump. Number one, he's already ahead of Warren, arguably, in some of the polling. That's, you know, she's in number 3 place, basically. It's funny because Harris, who had sort of been the third wheel, she's declined. Another thing is Sanders is now in decline. Steep decline. He was riding in the mid-20s. Now he's somewhere in the low teens in a lot of these polls. It was funny because as little as a couple of weeks ago, a lot of Sanders fans were like, oh, well, he's on the rise. He's the big man. He's the man to beat. And then Biden gets in, shoves him down, basically, because then the white male Democratic vote all flock to him because most of those people don't want socialism. They'd glommed on to Bernie Sanders as basically, well, if I'm going to have a nut, I'm going to have a nut that's the same race and gender as me or something. Democrats have a tendency to think that way. They're
don't know where he gets this from. Probably from watching. He probably watches CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News, and basically makes an assessment off of that. As far as the polling goes, he seems to have a bias towards Trump, You see when Trump's losing, it's the Kasich effect, some shit, whatever that is. And these other polls where Biden is up by 20 points, 30 in some other polls, those are 100% legitimate somehow. 100% legitimate.
Take a look at this. The latest presidential poll from Harvard-Harris has Biden ahead by 30 points ahead of second place Bernie Sanders. Is this even close to being the truth? If I look at the methodology of this poll, they surveyed 1,536 registered voters between April 30th and May 1st. They suggest to you that they break it down by U.S. demographics. And they also tell you right up front that they are including Republicans and Independents in their survey. And they don't break it down according to Democrat versus Republican. They're asking everyone. And remember that a lot of states are only going to allow you to vote if you affiliate with being Democrat. Already it's telling you it's not an accurate poll. And it's got over 100 pages. Very difficult for you to find anything, but they include Hillary Clinton in several of these questions. What you come to find out is that those being surveyed are the vast majority of them either voted for Clinton or Trump. I think that's a poor indication of surveying people in 2020.
Okay, so this is a article from Fox News way back in February. And it's Bernie talking about the 1 million volunteers he has. Back in February. He's losing somehow. Somehow he's losing by double-digit points. Here's what it says. Less than 1 week after we began, we now have 1 million volunteers in every congressional district in this country who are prepared to roll up their sleeves and get to work to make sure we win the Democratic nomination, that we defeat Trump, and that we transform the economic and political life of our country, Sanders said in a video posted to his 9 million followers on Twitter. Very fucking interesting. Now, maybe he's off by a little bit. Let's say it's 900,000. Or maybe he's underestimating himself. Maybe it's a little over 1 million. Either way, way back in February, he has 1 million volunteers, or somewhere in that area, in every congressional district in the entire fucking country. Now, can Joe Biden do that? Let's check out Joe real quick. Okay, this is from CNBC from 5 days ago. 5 days ago. A parody website with embarrassing photos of Joe Biden is outranking his official campaign page on Google. Users are reporting that former vice president's official 2020 campaign page is nowhere to be found on the first page of results for the search term Joe Biden. Even worse for the Democratic frontrunner, a realistic-looking parody site featuring images of Biden touching women and children appears to be doing quite well on Google and other major search engines, particularly for the search Joe Biden website. Now, you can attribute that to trolls and Trump supporters and whatever, but if I had to guess, most of Joe Biden's voters and followers don't even use the fucking internet. Maybe like some of them. Maybe a small amount of these 60-plus-year-old people can work a keyboard to find Joe Biden's website. The devil boy should, maybe he's using those CNN polling numbers as well. Not Fox News' polling numbers, where Bernie's up by 7 points over Trump himself. I wonder if he did a video on that and called it all bullshit. Alright, so let's continue with the hexed one.
Kind of tribal, a little bit odd when it comes to racial and gender-based things, as we've seen time and time again. They're cut up about it. They've got, stick up their ass about these issues. It's really...
Once again, the Don Lemons of the world. And there are racial groups in the politics that speak a lot about racial issues. But usually it's why are these particular types of people in the lower income brackets consistently throughout American history? Or What's with the immigration bill? Why are you separating families at the border? Blah, 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 blah. So they have some degree of legitimate issues. Thus, they pay attention to policy from people. And who are they going to pay attention to? Is it going to be Joe Biden, who wanted bus segregation, or are they going to pay attention to Bernie Sanders, who's been speaking this same talk, all his domestic policies he's been talking about for fucking years, decades, not turning face at the last second. He used to be, Biden used to be against gay marriage as well, if I remember correctly. I believe marriage is between a man and a wife, a man and a woman, whatever. Sorry. Who's that remind you of? Here we go.
Really what it's about. But let's look first at the polling with regards to Trump's approval as well, which no link in the description of this. His approval is arguably rising again. I think it was a Harris poll had him at 46. Now it was Gallup actually, their last poll. Now Gallup has consistently had him in the low 40s. For them to put him at 46, I don't know exactly why that is, why he's rising up at this particular moment. I have a feeling it may be due to the fact that the Democrats are overstretching.
Or these things are bullshit. I mean, forgive me for being conspiracy-minded, but I would think that these establishment Democrats would try to rig numbers and rig polls and rig questions in order to get a certain type of candidate in there. As in, they'd rather have Donald Trump over Bernie Sanders. They'd rather have Trump again. Or they'll try to make Trump look good and then go with the narrative that Biden's the only one that could beat him. Kamala Harris is the only one that could beat him. Pete Buttigieg is the only one that could beat Trump. Here we go.
With regards to the
no abstract thinking from this guy. Just reading straight from articles and going with that.
Post-Mueller fallout, they've begun to have a toll taken on their approval, I think, because of that. But if we look generally to the Democrats' polling, you can see sort of the person to beat is Biden. He's got like 3 polls recently have him above 4.
The guy who told you, if you're in an open state, go vote for Biden, is telling you Biden's winning. Isn't that a little bit suspicious? Just a little bit. Maybe he wants Trump to win so bad he's rallying for the worst possible candidate to face him. Maybe.
40 now. He's the inarguable front runner. The problem is, here's why.
Inarguable front runner. I'm arguing it right now. He won't respond though. Here you go.
It's difficult to tell what's going to happen in the race. Because Biden is a gaffe master, and because there's the possibility that he's demented, and because of the fact that he does, dumb shit sometimes, he could self-sabotage. He will become the nominee if he does.
He already self-sabotaged, and people know it. I think his wife just came out and said, we need to get over this Anita Hill thing. It's like his fuck-ups have already happened, and they're just resurfacing now. Come on, man. The dude announced, and all over social media, under all the comments are like, nope, no, go away, Joe, go away, never Biden.
He doesn't do that. If he does a decent job at the debates, basically stays the status quo with, look, I am me, here are my ideas, I'm, doesn't rock the boat too much and stays basically center left, he will win Iowa, he gets a small boost, he can knock Sanders out in New Hampshire, he can knock Kamala Harris out in South Carolina, he can knock Warren out in Nevada. That's it. He wins. Biden becomes the Democratic nominee, and while I don't think he would win, while I think Trump would trounce him, he'd get trounced by less than a lot of the other candidates. I don't believe in...
I think that's absolute bullshit. I think in a fair election, Bernie just kills everyone. He knocks everyone back. I think it's his time, man. Last time around, 2016, he was like rising out of nowhere, seemingly out of nowhere. he was rising up and made a strong push against Hillary Clinton, who I would think is more popular than Joe Biden. She's a lot more openly corrupt as well, but, you know, definitely think she's more popular because of how polarizing she is. Joe Biden's just a fucking wet noodle, man. He has nothing to him. Nothing to get excited about with Joe Biden. Here we go. I think this guy's lying to get Trump elected again. I think he'll trick his fans and whoever can get their hands on this video. He'll trick them into saying, "Oh, Biden's the guy. Biden's the guy. Biden's the guy." Biden just has to shut up and not say anything, and he's gonna win. You really think that's realistic? Do you really think that's the case? I don't know, man.
In this mystical strength of Bernie Sanders' bullshit argument that is very fervent but declining, apparently, fan base makes.
Yeah, declining fan base. Do you have a reason for that? Is there a reason for that? You sure a lot of people aren't just saying, you know, I'm going to go with Tulsi instead? I don't think any of them are saying, you know what, I'm going to go Biden now. How are you ever a Bernie supporter at any point in your life and then say, go Biden, unless he's the only candidate there? If he's the only Democrat there, that's the only time I see people saying, go Biden. And those are usually the dumb guys that get shit on years later and they get blamed for all this. This is why things keep fucking up. You guys will accept Joe Biden because you want Trump gone so bad. So, even so, Bernie declining from a million fucking volunteers damn near out the gate. Come on, son. Come on. All right, here we go.
Apparently, he's got 10 to 15% of the Democratic Party convinced he's the Messiah. That's not how you win an election. Those are Democrats that are being polled. Among left-wing voters, yeah, Biden's unpopular. If you want to energize the far-left base of the party, that particular portion of the party, yeah, you want a Sanders, you want a Kamala Harris or something like that. If Biden wins, you can guarantee that the DNC is going to want him to choose a VP candidate who's considerably younger and considerably further left. Unless they go down the Gabbard route in order to try to re-solidify support among centrists, the problem being she's so young and maybe not as popular among the further leftists, they could alienate them. That could be a problem. I think, by the way, that would be a perfect pairing. If you had a Biden candidacy with Gabbard as the VP, yes, some of that center left and even maybe center right support would leave the Republicans and end up going with them. They'd have a shot.
Biden as president with Tulsi Gabbard as the vice president. That's what he just fucking said. I don't think he's been paying attention at all of the groundswell of political thinkers out there. My God, man. He, honest to God, thinks Tulsi Gabbard would join as VP for Joe fucking Biden. The only way I think she does that is if she knows Biden's going to get assassinated or something. That's the only way I see her actually doing that. He just said that. He thinks they're all one, like, cabal or something. He thinks they're one giant clique, that Tulsi is an establishment Democrat, that Bernie is an establishment Democrat. He probably thinks Andrew Yang is he probably doesn't think that, but he thinks those two guys are establishment Democrats. And they're just thinking of strategies all together as a team to get Trump out of office. Meanwhile, I did a video showing you an article where Neera Tanden, Nancy Pelosi, Pete Buttigieg, all these guys secretly meeting to take Bernie Sanders down. And welcome to the team, Mr. Hexenhammer666. You're on their team. You probably don't even know it, that you're on their team. They try to make the world a worse place, I'm guessing. That's my conspiracy mind. Here we go.
It wouldn't be high, but they would have a shot at winning. The problem with appeasement with regards to the far left is that the only way to appease them is to give them everything they want. So Biden would have to come out in order to energize that part of the party, which is, again, 10, 15% of the party, maybe 20 on a rainy day. He would have to say, okay, I've seen the light. all men are pigs. We need to pay reparations for slavery or something like that. Orange Man bad. We need to impeach him. We need to bomb the Russians, I guess, and
Has no clue. He has no fucking clue what he's talking about at all. I don't even think I need to explain that one. He has no fucking clue what he's talking about. It's kind of funny.
by the way, free shit. We're going to double the tax rate on the tippy tops, which is basically everyone, according to Sanders-style plans. That's not going to work. And by the way, free shit. We're going to double the tax rate on the tippy tops, which is basically everyone, according to Sanders-style plans.
Medicare for all, nothing to do with taxing more. Just so you know. It's taking the taxes you already pay. Holy shit. I need Nico House here. Like, you have enough of a following to debate this guy. And it would be scorched earth, as I say. It would be embarrassing. It would look more like that anomaly debate that Nico House had. Anomaly versus Nico House. Go look that up. Scorched earth. Here we go.
That's not going to work. And Biden has to strenuously avoid that. I think what he...
Free healthcare is not going to work. Standing up for union workers, it's not going to work.
Realizes is that if he looks at the race, it's basically a conglomerate clusterfuck of a bunch of far leftists. And so he's the only one who's more...
See how far his scale is off? A bunch of far leftists. Yeah, Biden having meetings with Comcast and shit. Super far left.
If you look at the point, Buttigieg is still on there, and I know I pronounced the name wrong, but look at his name and it's pretty funny. And then who was the fifth one? I think Harris is barely in the top 5 now, actually. I think she rounds out the top 5. She was a fairly strong number 3, slightly behind Sanders. Sanders rose up, now he's in decline. He's arguably in 3rd place in some of the polling now. It's crazy. You've seen a huge amount of movement since Biden got in.
So you read those polls and they're just 100% spot on. Come on, son.
He's thrown the race into uproar, and he's got, again, anywhere from the mid-30s, which is all he needs to win the primaries if he doesn't stumble and do something stupid, to literally over 50%.
Biden's already done something stupid. It's just waiting there in the history books. And every day I'm seeing people do reaction videos to Biden's past his past stances when he's in Congress. And he's in that perfect era where there's still video of it, where you can't hide away, where it's just in fine print and no one can find it anywhere, and it's in the back of the newspaper. It's like, nope, straight up video of it. And now you got YouTube where it's shared over and over again, Twitter, Instagram, all that shit. Come on, son.
That shows the Democrat. This is the neoliberals, the center left, the business Dems. They're the ones buoying up Biden. I think some of the more leftist individuals have flocked away from Sanders because he's too far left. He's gone too far out there. He's taken what was always a socialist message and amplified it in order to differentiate himself from another crowd of far leftists. Maybe he miscalculated.
Hey, that's make believe as well. Where or how did he do that? Please explain that to me.
And thought Biden wouldn't get in. If we look at the generic matchups, though, what do we see? We see, other than Warren, of course, which sucks to be her, I suppose. Sucks to be Democrats when she's in 3rd place. Other than her, all of the others supposedly win against Trump. But again, name recognition matters, the Kasich effect. And in the case of Biden and Sanders, you've got to understand that they've been out of the limelight more generally. Like, even the fact that Sanders is spoken of a lot of his just fluff pieces, once he's exposed to the debate stage, once other people are taking shots at him, I think that changes drastically. What happens is the Democrats, despite the DNC's best attempts, are going to have to fight tooth and nail against one another in order to be elected. They're going to take dirty shots against one another. It's what politicians do. It's what people in candidacies do.
We already know this. They're plotting to get Bernie Sanders out of here. And we have legitimate journalists already showing that that's the case. And people are paying attention to that. Now, that's not everyone. There's also a large majority of people that are just not paying attention to that shit. They don't want to. They don't care to. but they're friends. Maybe they're family members. They start talking about it. And then the debate stages, oh my God. Put Joe Biden up there with Bernie Sanders on stage. Put both of them up there with Tulsi Gabbard on stage. Now, Tulsi's not going to pull the way Bernie's going to pull. But, yeah, it's over for like a Biden and shit. And the only way they could win, which is the strategy you're not saying, is them going to a second ballot and Biden collecting up all the super delegates. That's their best fucking chance. He won't bring that up, though. He'll just say vote Biden in order to get Trump in office again. A shitty president. Let's get this shitty president, because it won't affect me, really.
When that happens, their overall approval drops. It's just the way that it is. This is why the DNC is begging them not to attack each other. Have a love fest. Basically, let Biden get coronated is what the DNC wants. That's not going to happen. Everyone else is going to gang up on him and on one another, especially Sanders and Harris and Warren. Their approval will begin to drop. The thing is, once the general begins, what happens is
it will improve their approval. It will improve their approval if Warren goes after Biden for how shitty his policy was and probably is going to be. Same thing for Harris. They'd be like, oh shit, maybe you are fighting the establishment. They're probably not going to do it. But if Sanders might not do it either. If he does it, he'll be nice about it. Tulsi will go right for the throat, I think. Especially if it comes to foreign policy. Here we go.
Right now, Trump is being compared to Democrats. He's being compared to an amorphous blob of different ideologies. Once there is, though, a Democrat, that changes. This happened in the 2016 election. Trump, behind supposedly everyone in every poll, oh my God, he's going to get washed away. Things.
Yeah, that poll was fucked up, but this one's not. This one's correct.
Begin to even up as election eve approaches. This happens in every single election, unless something major happens that's detrimental to one candidate or the other and really shoves their head down.
Or the candidates are so shitty that people have to sit and think about it for like, oh, who do I vote for? Like, oh, if Hillary's so shitty, I'm going to vote for Trump. Or I'm not going to vote at all. He doesn't mention those guys either. The guys that are like, I'm not fucking voting for Hillary or Trump. Or I'm voting Jill Stein. I think there's a lot of Bernie supporters in that area. I don't know.
You think of Mitt Romney taking a tumble right towards the end, about a month out from the election itself, Obama basically destroying him, and then Mitt Romney basically retiring from the field in shame to await his inevitable fate that Karl Rove didn't want to admit existed. So there's a little bit of election analysis. Trump's approval is up. The economy's churning along. His economic approval is sky high. He's beginning to have the damage from...
For who? Who's getting polled in these things? Who's doing the polling, and who are the ones answering the questions?
The Mueller probe repaired slowly over time. By election eve, it could be a 50% approval, which gives him the re-election. I don't think the Democrats are going to win this one. I could be wrong. I mean, something major could change. I mean, Trump could have a heart attack tomorrow or something. That's possible. The Democrats could have...
Yeah, something crazy going to have to happen for Trump to lose. I think it's the exact opposite. Something crazy is going to happen. Is going to have to happen for him to win. I think. Something.
Have a soaring JFK-style speech moment. A dark horse candidate arrives and shoots right out of the gate, defeats Biden, Sanders, everyone else, and is like a perfect candidate. You get an Obama moment. It's possible, but do I trust that the Democratic Party has it in them to deliver that kind of victory when they keep making mistakes, and when their frontrunner, who may arguably already be above 50% in a 22, I think now, person field, do I believe that Joe Biden, of all people, is going to be able to beat Trump because he is the presumptive nominee unless something changes? No, I do not believe that Joe Biden is capable of being the president of the United States. That's about all.
Okay, so once the end there, he talks about a dark horse. Right now, I think that dark horse, someone who can rise up the ranks, especially after the debates, would be Tulsi Gabbard. But he already made the assessment that she's a deep state shill, here to trick Trump Trump voters into voting for her, and so to take away votes from Trump so they can stop him. I don't know. His analysis of politics sounds less like someone who really digged into it and more like a QAnon supporter, to be honest with you. And that is all. Peace out. No, I'm not doing that. Alright, that's it. Please subscribe if you feel like. Comment if you feel like. If you're a fan of his, please let it be know. Or let me know if I got something wrong or if I'm getting something wrong. Don't quote fucking polls at me. I mean, give me some real shit. Donate. Devon's Journey to Recovery. Please donate. Any amount will help. The GoFundMe link is down there. Description box. Not my dick. The description box. Somewhere over there. Down there somewhere. Please donate. Devon's Journey to Recovery. And with all that said, give this video a thumbs down. And peace out. Yeah.
Say you wanna get in, I know you wanna get out. When you get the money to buy yourself a car.